to get. And she obviously rides a lot by feel. I love seeing this. This has really thrown a bit of a cat amongst the pigeons, hasn't it? The bunch is having to chase incredibly hard to bring this back. They are splintered and definitely losing a lot of horsepower. 5 seconds, the gap has opened up to 6 seconds now. This is starting to get into real danger territory for Elliot. She threw down the gauntlet on the first lap by pacing up there, and people had to start paying attention. But she has really made a very big danger move. Thorvaldsen trying to jump across, but she's solo now too. She'll need to bridge across. If these two can get together, Nathan, I reckon this could be pretty dangerous for the rest.
Thorvaldsen here. Thorvaldsen's got over 50 meters now at this point. This is a solid 5 second gap. She's almost 2 seconds within, and these two together, they know how to ride Zwift together. They TT together often in the Sox Watts WRT team. Watch out for this duo because they know this game inside and out. A lot of times there is a big struggle between riders. Thorvaldsen struggling to get across, though. 4.5 watts per kilogram. She needs this one last kick. Here comes Elise, though. 8 watts per kilogram. Will it be able to shut this down? These huge accelerations coming for this final sprint. Not sure it's going to be able to do it, though. Rich Elliott now 6.4. Thorvaldsen, not quite enough to come across. Elliott, is she going to sit up or continue on? Because she needs the help of Thorvaldsen if this is going to succeed. Turbo, is this arrow power up? Arrow power up here from Thorvaldsen. Wants to get across as quickly as she possibly can because this could be a hopeful moment for the two. They know how to TT together. They know how to sit on wheels and conserve energy. It looks like Rachel is going to be setting up. Elise Haag sits up. It's only 2 watts per kilogram right here. They are slowing way down. 36 kilometers per hour at the top, as you can see here. 37 from these front runners. 33 from Elliott. She's going to ramp it up right here. She got a little reprieve down to 165. I think these two can do it because behind... Now, there are 5 riders behind, though. They start working together. Cassie Baldy is here, though, Kate. Cassie Baldy is not going to do a single bit of work. It's all on beast mode. Turbo's going to sit in as well. Olivia Barrow's not going to do nothing. They're going to make the current series leaders do all the work.
Yeah, Lisa Haag and
did you see the yes?
Wagner,
Sorry, but did you see the yes? I just want to say real quickly. Did you see Leah Thorvaldsen say yes in game?
Yes, communication? That's a bit of communication between these pair. Are they going to ride together? Yes, they are. Thorvaldsen is in. Elliott, she knows, has a massive diesel engine, and they are pulling away. It is up to the beast mode crew to chase this. This is a very, very good way to put the team who are leading overall at the moment kind of in the hot seat of having to take a bit of responsibility to pull this back. They've had them a bit outnumbered now. They're only down to 2 riders. This is because of Elliott's attack. That was brutal, and it is ongoing. She's managed to hold a high power. So this is interesting. Fast segment time. Now, can we take a look when we can and see if Elliott has actually gone up there faster than Elisa Haag did on that first lap? Because if that has happened, that is the first time on this course across the community leagues thus far that we've seen that happen. And it has. Look at that. Look at that. What an impressive ride. Because so far we've seen it happen on that first lap, and then they've gotten a bit slower each lap. But it's like Elliott has just been cranking up and warming that one up. She took 6 seconds. My goodness me, 6 seconds off Elisa Haag's already blistering fast time up there. So both Elliott and Thorvaldsen have rocketed up there. Beast mode not able to respond at this point. That gap is out to 8 seconds. 15 seconds we know is the massive danger moment, but they don't have a lot of firepower to chase at the back. Everyone will be looking at each other. This might be our move of the day.
This is amazing to watch here. So great. Oh, this is the OGs of Zwift showing up and showing all the new kids on the block how it's done. And beast mode is most definitely the new kids on the block here. And at least I'm not sure beast mode knows what hit them there. Well, when Rachel Elliott went over the top, 6-7 watts per kilogram, consistently all the way to the top. But now there is a threat, though, as Aeonian and beast mode, they're starting to get the strength in numbers here. A lot of orange jerseys here. Sox Watts are going to sit in. They're not going to make any kind of chase or anything. If they're smart, at least, they're not going to do so. Beast Mode to the front here. Okay, now our numbers are coming on here. Alicia Gamps is here from BRT. They'll be motivated to make a chase, but off the front, amazing job here by Rachel Elliott and Leah Thorvaldsen making the work. Now the orange jerseys, though, it's time for them to get to work. They know exactly what to do. They're just going to set a steady tempo on the front and make sure that that time doesn't go too far out. But it's already out to 13 seconds. They're working so well together here right now.
This is the danger for the leaders, is that chase group comes back together, gets organised. They use the firepower of beast mode to bring that back. But again, we need to refer back to that profile because there is no real recovery. It's an absolute mistake to think that either the descent or the flat is a really good recovery period. Look at this. Now they've gone over the KOM once, they've gone over it twice. They're now coming down that other side, but then it starts to kick up a little bit again. And once they are in that middle section and heading back toward that climb, there is no advantage for the chasing pack. Currently, this is the only section of the course that chasing pack has any advantage, but it's opening up. It's nearly at that magic 15-second mark for Elliott and Thorvaldsen. This is a ride of the series, not just of the day and not just of this week. This is one of the best moves we've seen across the whole season. And I'm thinking that they might be able to pull this off. They've got about 14K left to race. Beast Mode are getting organised in this group, but it is still blobbing along. They don't have a massive speed advantage on those two breakaway riders. This is going to get increasingly more difficult to chase back on. They're out of sight. There's no carrot dangling. They've pulled a few seconds back. They're only 11 seconds up now as opposed to 13 a few moments ago. But again, this is the time where Thorvaldsen and Elliott need to just buckle down. 155 heart rate for Elliott. She looks pretty comfortable also on that power. We know that she can sit around the 300 watt mark and above fairly consistently. So if these pair can continue to work together, I do think that this 10 seconds could hold.
Yeah, 10 seconds at this point. It came back to 10 seconds because at the bottom of that climb, or at the bottom of the descent, excuse me, the team, they blobbed up more and there was a lot of speed. But again, we talked about the roll of the dice in the men's race. There was a couple of breaks that had happened. You roll the dice and you see how many riders were able to blob up at the top. If you get a big snowball effect, a big avalanche at the top, it's that much more time to really gain speed and use a lot of that blob speed in order to bring back any kind of break. They didn't really get a larger group until after that flat through the volcano halfway down the descent. And that second half only was able to bring back about 5 seconds, actually. So because of that, they were able to hold on to a good chunk of the gap that they had gained over the top and as well as the first half of the descent. So at this point, they've got a lot to work with, but they have to capitalize on it at this point. Because Beast Mode, they are making little digs here and there, but it does look like there's... You know what I think here, Kate, is I think that the reality is the stronger riders are just off the front now at this point. Because the reality seems to me at this point is that there's just not a whole lot of energy and effort left in this group. And some of them are just kind of looking at each other like, Beast Mode, you're the champs here. You got to do the work. And I'm not sure they got the power and the legs to do so to bring back the reality of Leah Thorvaldsen, who's saying she's trying because she's up against Elliott, who is definitely a strong diesel. Thorvaldsen is a little bit more of a dynamic rider. She knows how to ride a pack. She's got a good kick. She does have a good FTP, but I mean, Elliott is just a monster when it comes to FTP.
Yeah, this is a really good pairing. I love that they're communicating. I think that shows a lot of respect, mutual respect amongst them, and that they want this to succeed because the strength of a breakaway is entirely dependent on the willingness of the riders to work together. You can have two of the strongest bike riders in the world off the front, but if they won't ride together and they won't communicate, then it'll never survive. It's a bit like a marriage, isn't it, Nathan? And these ladies, well, they're married to each other for at least the next 11 kilometres and they've got to make it work. That chasing bunch has lost a lot of momentum and a lot of oomph. And I felt when I looked at the last picture of the bunch, a bit of a collective sigh from them that they think, All right, it's pushing out to that 15, 16 second mark now. Maybe it is game over. We've got the men on the left. They are on the slopes of the KOM for the first time now, but they're not too far off the top, actually. It's stringing out Paolini, the Italian. There's about only a couple of meters in it there, but enough that they are stringing out behind him, trying to catch up, sitting and having to dip into the orange zone to do it. I might add, he's about to get swamped here, but there's a lot of effort that's had to go in from that chasing mob in order to catch up there. This is a bit of a flatter section before they kick up to nearly 10% heading into that final. So this is a chance to catch their breath before I expect a very big rush at the top. Let's see what they can do through this segment. History has shown us that fastest through segment happens in this first lap. So a lot of fresh legs. So this is a bit of a chance to see who's feeling strong.
Looking at the standings a little bit here, Plastic Cockneys with a perfect run at the season so far. 20 points on every single one of them. It does look like Tor 2K, though, on the heels at 92. He's got that's a lot of work cut out for you. They're going to have a tough day, Plastic Cockneys, if they're going to get unseated. Their Team Experimental West Side is out there represented. Great to see them. I was talking about them earlier. Zach Herod is up toward the front here, making a little bit of move. That is going to be one of the most old school kits in game, one of the first ones that was ever put in game. They were originally, actually, just as a little side story, using the classic Alienware kit, which was one of the original, just basic kits that you do unlock early on in the leveling up in the game, and then just did a little bit of a change up of that when they got their in-kit game. So Team Experimental is showing up. Zach Herod, little bit of a visibility power-up as they make their way over the top. Maybe more to do with just using the power-up, though, than anything else, because he will get a new one over the top. Probably wants something with a little more speed on it. Is Milk now with Perrin over the top. 12 watts per kilogram. Looks like Perrin's going to take this down for the Plastic Cockneys. Solid kick from them, and showing why their current series leaders will be Argneludi, second over the line for Team Italy.
Well, the Italians have shown up with a strong team today, haven't they? Carneludi, he looks pretty comfortable over the top, actually. And so far, they seem to have...
Better's letting us know he's 11. Yeah. Thanks. Appreciate it, Better.
11. We got you. The Italians look to be pretty motivated today based on the fact that they sprinted well over the top, but they also animated a bit on those mid peaks. From this view, it looks like a small pack, but if we swing that camera around, we have quite a lot more just off the back there. This will regroup with this many numbers and going this speed. It is a bit of a different dynamic with the big bunch than it is with that smaller, reduced women's field. But I'll point out, Nathan, that the women's field is reduced because it was so aggressive in that first lap, not because they had less numbers to start with. But it has been a bit of a theme that at this point the men's bunches seem to have been a bit bigger over the top in that first lap. And then it's had to get a bit more exciting and animated in those other ones. They go down very fast. And you've got to watch your P's and Q's here, because this is where we keep talking about it, because we keep seeing it happen. People sit up just for a moment, take a drink, maybe rest their legs a little bit, and the gaps do open up. Look at that. Cheese is saying, come on, group. He's trying to urge them to get back on, because the 5 of them, this is where they could either roll back on and all be together there, or they could just, this 3 seconds could turn into 10 seconds. So they need to work together and make sure that they don't take a break just yet.
Whatever happened at the front of this race completely blew things apart in a way that we haven't seen across much of the community division yet today. This front group here with Casket, Herod, Gray, and the rest, they must have just went insanely hard. I would like to see what we can get for what the time was over the top, because that'll tell us a little bit here. 5:49. That is exactly why things are so incredibly splintered, because that I was wondering what was happening there, because I haven't seen a lot of times, as you were saying, if we swing the camera around, I was expecting, yeah, we're going to see this large group of, riders coalescing together and starting to get together, blob up, and they'll grab a lot of speed. Instead, I saw like 3 riders, 2 riders, maybe a little group of 5. They all kind of came together, and all we have here at this point is 21 riders. I was expecting a group of 50. This is insane. They were not messing around over this climb.
Yeah, it's a bit of a different flavor than what we may have expected. It's a fast segment time when your initial reaction isn't words, but it's a sound. So I saw that 5:49 and immediately you go, woo, instead of, wow, that's actually quite fast. But in both the men's and the women's, they're going up a lot quicker than we would have initially discussed. We said it's a 6.5 to 7 minute climb. That's the profile we're looking at. Let's just pause for a second and take a look at right of screen. Rachel Elliott is solo here. Torvaldsen has been jettisoned 12 seconds back. Clearly not a marriage made in heaven, this one. Elliott, what an incredible performance. She is now flying up this KOM on her own, 30 seconds back to that chasing bunch. Ride of the series here.
Amazing ride here coming from Rachel Elliott now off the front. And Thorvaldsen, this is kind of the situation here with Thorvaldsen. There's a large pack behind at this point. Rachel's, I think, saw the writing on the wall and said, they're going to come back to us if I do not continue on with my pace. I have to just set my pace. Thorvaldsen, she did some work with her. She was hopeful to do so. Couple more hobnobs in the back pocket there, Thorvaldsen.
Maybe she needs the Tim Tams. Maybe that is the problem.
Yep, presented by Tim Tams might have helped it out there. We needed a couple of little different sugar source, perhaps. That Elliott now continues on. 31 seconds is enough. It's still a large pack behind here, though. She will have to have, without that extra wheel on the downhill, I've seen the likes of 30 seconds come back. So if they have more watts on the uphill and they bring back time on the uphill here, I'm not sure they're going to, but if they do have a better watt per kilogram, better climb than her on the uphill, she's still not out of the water yet. She's not. This is still a hot spot, and she has to give everything she has to the line and play it smart on the downhill. Get some good super tucks all the way through, and she knows how to do it. She's been in this position before. Now she just has to deliver.
Yeah, not out of danger yet, but the most impressive part of this ride to me is the consistency of power that she holds, even as the grade changes from the shallower to the steeper. Rachel Elliott has just settled into a rhythm. This is going to be very, very hard to pull back because I think the chasing bunch are pretty fatigued now. So even the numbers isn't going to help them so long as Elliott can keep pushing these really consistent powers.
Interesting to see. We're seeing a couple of comments coming on through. Over in great to see Alice Lethbridge jumping in here, one of the top racers for high no, saying so exciting to see Rachel Elliott and Leah Thorvaldsen off the front. Great to see the encouragement coming on through. Dave Ranson, longtime KISS racing team, who Rachel Elliott originally rode for the KRT team before launching the Newberry Velo, as well as jumping in for Socks for Watts, obviously. But great to see Dave Ranson saying it's over. This is done. He's got full faith in Rachel Elliott now at this point. And Alice also saying Rachel Elliott will be in her element riding at the constant high watts, which I think is also a good point, that this is where she's comfortable. She doesn't want to sit in and amongst the pack and wait for some sort of sprint. This is where the confidence comes in. I am in control of this race now. It's not going to push me around.
No, and again, bearing in mind that Elliott struggles a bit to see the other riders on screen and see their power numbers, as well as in a sprint is no longer her favourite kind of event. So this is really a masterclass of playing to your strengths. Elliott, I've said it a number of times now, but I will say it again, Nathan, because I think this is the ride of the series that we are seeing across the community divisions, across the different races. Rachel Elliott has really stepped up today. The consistency of power, the way that she has, from that first climb, it looked to us almost, we discussed, was she doing this strategically for the rest of her team, setting them up with a high pace so that no one could attack across the top? I think, in fact, she was just riding at a comfortable level for her and opening that gap. Elisa Haag has jumped across the top there, leading. We know that she's got pretty good climbing legs. But Rachel Elliott, she's now got 33 seconds. Thorvaldsen has been absorbed by that chasing pack. Will they keep this going? This is the only chance they have of using the descent and the strength of numbers here in the bunch to keep this going. Beast Mode need to send. There's Diane Wagner. She's coming up to help the chase as well. Noak is also up there. So these Beast Mode riders really need to really nail it down this other side. It's the only chance they have of pulling any time back.
Yeah, they look motivated. 3 orange jerseys directly to the front right away, 3.5 watts per kilogram. They also have some help from Aeonian. They're going to have some help here, most likely from BRT. They do not want to see Sox Watts taking this much points away from them in the overalls. So we'll see how this plays out because Beast Mode have a lot of orange jerseys. They've got some help from some of the other teams. Rest of Sox Watts, I believe, is it only going to be Cassie Baldy that was able to make this group here at this point. So it's really on Elliott here to take the most of the points, which she has done. She's taken the fastest for the segment, first over the line, over and over again. So Elliott really putting them on the scene here, and it looks like we'll have to wait and see though. A single rider versus a lot of other riders. I mean, Beast Mode has so many orange jerseys in here. They might just have a strength of numbers when it comes down to the points race at the end of the day.
Yeah, and we do need to remember that it is a points race. However, we've also so you could look at that and say, well, why do they even need to chase? They'll get second, maybe they'll pick up some more points, still win in an overall points basis. But let's not forget that there is a bit of pride and ego involved here. You don't get on a bike and into a bike race to just be a watcher. Everybody gets on their bike to win and be part of the racing. So we can definitely not think for a single second that they're happy to sit back and let this go. They're showing that by having so many orange jerseys working together. They're constantly coming to the front, doing a turn of pace. The other teams, they are in a position where they can sit and watch Beast Mode a little bit and say, well, responsibility's on you. It can actually be quite a frustrating way to race and sometimes seem a little bit negative when you want to be chasing, but strategically it's actually better not to and to leave that up to the other team. But Beast Mode definitely are still trying to win this bike race, even if they will take it on an overall points basis. They're interested very clearly in the first over the line. But Rachel Elliott, the rider of the day, she's still putting down some pretty solid speed. The speed differential isn't too different. So she's around the 50-kilometre mark. The bunch isn't going substantially faster than that at all through those steeper sections. They've just come through that kind of flat section in the middle. And so they're not making up any ground here at all. And in fact, Elliott has picked herself up a couple more seconds. It's blown out to about the 37-second mark there. So very big ride by Elliott. And we're seeing Garcia and Salim in the middle there.
They're climbing still. So those are riders. So they're rider nearby. And sometimes on this climb, just as a heads up for those that are descending, you want to know what's going on with that. When you see maybe a couple of other riders out there, they are just on the other side of the course. And sometimes they'll jump into the riders nearby list next to you. So that's the reason why you're seeing those.
That is a good one. That is a good one to watch. And that's interesting because Diana Garcia, we spoke about her earlier, the very young Mexican rider. She's a sprinter. We thought she might suffer a bit on today's course, but it's great to see her continuing to push through. And I think in years to come, she's certainly a name that we might be talking about on those flatter courses.
So the story here now as it develops, it looks like Rachel Elliott, I mean, she has just put a stamp on this, 35 seconds at this point. It would take some sort of miracle at this point, it looks like, as Beast Mode. Now, first time we've seen it, I think, this season, really put on the back foot. They are the current series leaders in the standings right now for this women's EMEA West 1 Division 1, 97 points. Team Turbo are actually the ones who are sitting in second at that 90 points. It's Sox for Watts, who Rachel is riding for, at 88. Be interesting. I believe this is going to give them a good little jump, probably over Turbo, because Turbo with only 2 riders here they may not even overtake BRT or Aeonian on the day. We'll have to see how that plays out too.
Well, they might not overtake them on the overall points, but certainly by reputation. I think what Rachel Elliott is doing today for her own reputation and also for Socks for Watts is quite remarkable. I'd love to see Rachel at the Paralympics, actually, because I think that that's something that she could absolutely slay at. So let's see what her future might hold. She certainly holds the watts and the numbers. And I actually love that on Zwift, a lot of the Aussie Paralympians, Nathan, have been really successful in the Zwift world. And they've found that even from a perception perspective, they've been able to just get out there, get it done, and not worry about it. But they have talked about and definitely requested some Paralympic avatars come into the Zwift world. So we'll see if that happens. Some of the amputees were hoping that they would get a one-legged avatar, which I think would be pretty cool, actually. Although
So
it would
awesome.
just be wouldn't it be my luck that you'd be climbing the volcano and you'd have steam coming out your ears and lactic out your eyeballs, and a chick with one leg would just fly past you and you'd be like, okay, all right, I'm done for the day. No, but it highlights what incredible athletes they are, and it puts it through a different lens. So Rachel Elliott just ridden away. She's actually, that gap has come down ever so slightly, just a couple of seconds. But by this point, and look, she's still over 300 watts, still plugging away at that. Rachel Elliott, what a ride. Chapeau to you, lady, because I think that is going to be very hard to be beaten as a ride for the entire season, that one.
Beast mode here, not putting the pressure on though. They want to sweep the rest of the podium here, but here comes Olivia Barrel. Barrel maybe up the upset, and as she always does, turbo to the line. Killer effort there coming from her. It's going to be beast mode, the next ones. It does look like Cassie Baldy able to grab a few points. There was something I wanted to highlight was where Baldy finishes here for Sox Walt is going to be important amongst that beast mode, turbo, and Sox Watts conversation. That we are talking about here for the overall points. But Rachel Elliott, that's the story of the day here. And probably the story of the season, I would say. I mean, I think you're right there, Kate, that is going to be a huge highlight, that ride-away effort. Because this is a rare occurrence that you see in Zwift racing, that kind of a walk-away. It's a very difficult thing to do tactically. It's not just power. It's not just she's a crazy strong rider. There's a lot of smarts, timing, knowing the game, knowing how to ride, getting the right riders, perfect. And then there's a little bit of luck with Thorvaldsen able to come across, roll the dice, the right setup amongst the riders, and bam, you have this ride away, a breakthrough, an amazing ride coming from Rachel Elliott.
There's a lot of skills that we talk about in the Zwift world, and the ability to hold fairly consistent watts, even when the road changes up and down, and even on the flat, is an incredible skill and something that can take years and years, not weeks, but years and years to do. So very impressive ride there. So we're watching Perrin from the Plastic Cockneys sprint up to this, drop that power up, open that gap, sprint up to this KOM. We'll have to check out the segment times for this one as well, because they are motoring. They're already past the halfway mark. It seems like just a few minutes ago we were talking about them leaving the pen. 5:49.
Zach Herod's the one holding on that. Woo. Yeah, interesting enough.
Boy, oh boy.
So,
and Milk in second, Perrin in third. So Herod and Perrin.
I want to know, is that
tongues twisted on that one?
Like, I mean, that's great if that's the last name. I just want to know, is Milk the last name? Like, I just need to know.
There's been
coming from Tour of America's Dairyland. That's where I'm from. Like, this guy's a man over after my own heart here. The Milk.
You are very lactose friendly in your household, aren't you, Nathan? Oh, Milk. Let's see if Milk is in fact the surname. Somebody jump into the chat and let us know. There always are some pretty cool names that pop up that I always think, oh, I wonder if. And some of them, they are legit. Oh, look at that, Rachel Elliott. Thank you so much for the commentary. Well, thank you very much, Rachel. You've made it very exciting for us, and can't wait to keep commentating on you, especially with efforts like that. And it's great. And Leah is my best friend ever. I love that. See, what good breakaway companions at the end. Elliot knew that she needed to jettison her in order to ride away for that finish. But what a great pairing they did make for that middle section. And we've got a bit of a danger move going here in the men, Nathan. Hem at the helm, the Italian, only 3 of them, a bit of a gap opening up behind them as well. This could be, oh, no, there they are. They're rolling back on.
Yeah, shut it right on down. There were enough, and I think the who's who, cream of the crop type of situation ended up happening on that first climb. And I have a feeling that it's going to be very difficult from here on out to really splinter this too much. There'll be a couple of riders who just made it by the skin of their teeth kind of a situation. You are seeing this maybe with, not these riders actually, but maybe with Hope Factory Racing here off the back a little bit. But I have a feeling that the reality is that at this front group, as we are clicking around just a little bit here, we'll see if we can find. This is actually the chase, perhaps. 29. Yes, this is the chase group at this point. Look, going forward here with DZR Dynamic Danes. They're in and amongst here with Zach Harrod on the front. I think they really did the full splintering the first time over the top. Perhaps the second time through here, as it's only 19 seconds back, actually. So perhaps that chase group was on board with some of these riders. Not only 19 seconds, I got a feeling that this second time over did cut it in half once again, actually.
Well, this is kind of a pivotal part in the course insofar as they've only got about 15k to go. So when moves do go, you actually know that they have a decent chance of being able to stay away because there aren't big swathes of recovery. We've discussed that even though on paper it may look like those descents and flats give everybody a good chance to regroup, it hasn't proven to be the case so far. And in fact, it can be a decent place to lay down a bit of attack before they go back up the climb and get a bit of a head start. So we'll have to see if anybody's brave enough to do that. But it's a pretty small bunch. Smaller, much smaller, Nathan, than we would have imagined.
Yeah, it is. It is really broken up. Perhaps it may be an effort thing. It may be. Well, look at this. This is what I was talking about. The amount of riders that can get together on a downhill. I believe there's just from the way that this climb is, I have a feeling that it just has to do with that they're at the front end of this division. You just kind of have some hitters and a good amount of them with the 20 plus or so, amongst them, and also a lot of willingness amongst the teams with enough riders in here to say we're not waiting up for anybody. We've got enough representation at this point. Let's just continue on. I see 2 BRT jerseys in here. I'm seeing 2 SZ jerseys in here. So Swedish Zwift Racers, actually 3 represented. Excuse me. I've seen a lot of Bumblebee kits actually in here. Is that going to be
lot of Bumblebees?
Yeah, tons of them here. And that's going to be the Plastic Cockneys, I believe. They're going to want to continue on. They're undefeated. So obviously tons of motivation there. Team Experimental is represented only with Herod, actually. So they're going to be a team that maybe wants to bring a few riders back. I'm not sure it's going to matter at this point, though, because if you drop twice, third time, probably not the charm on this climb.
No, third time not the charm when you have that lactic in your legs. And, of course, when it's a more dynamic climb, it does sometimes that fatigue hits you a lot harder because it's not just your aerobic system that's getting a workout, but definitely your anaerobic system as it pitches up to those 10%, which is also where people tend to be laying down those minor attacks. Bit of a move here happening and no reaction from the bunch, Nathan. That's interesting. Quite a blob across the road.
A little bit of motivation maybe coming in from Kate Lascelles over in chat, giving a little bit of a bike strong KTM smash it I'm seeing over in chat there, and maybe that's where that's coming from. I wonder if that person's next to this person saying, go, come on, move it. Like the motivation. We're seeing this feather power up come on through, 7.2. Now it's going to be about continuance, whether or not he's able to hold a 5+ at this point. The fade here, as you can see, 5 seconds. Well, better sits up though. 39 kilometers per hour versus 42. It's still about speed, not just watts. And he's holding a solid 3 kilometers faster. Cockney's maybe going to the front.
Yeah.
Kate.
This is an interesting one, actually. If nothing else, even if they pull him back fairly easily, it makes them pay attention a bit more. And it also, I think, gives a little bit of, strength to anybody thinking, oh, maybe this isn't a great time to attack. I might hold off a little bit. Well, actually, in the most unlikely of places on a course, sometimes um, any attack can be well timed. It's about the element of surprise. They'll go through that start finish now, pick up a new power up. They'll see the 1 lap to go sign, and they're headed out onto the mountain for the last time. Got about 13K left to race. By now, they've seen the slopes of this climb enough to know what to expect. Zach Herod there, let's take a look at that segment board. With the fastest through segment time for Herod, as well as some handy points on the first over line. Thomas Perrin has been the one first over the line. The Plastic Cockneys, of course, they are sitting on the top of the table. Good to note that at the finish, it is first over the line. So even though they may pick up a lot of points for that segment time, that does get clawed back when they do go over the finish. But it is quite a significant number of points on offer for that fastest through segment. So it's definitely worth on that first or second lap really having a crack at it and seeing if you can do that. Now, he took that actually on the second lap. So we may see a chance here where he actually increases it again on this third lap. So it could be quite an explosive climb.
One thing I want to point out is Plastic Cockneys only have Thomas Perrin at the top. And perhaps their strategy here is bring as many jerseys to the finish for a top 10 as possible. Because, I mean, look at how many of these Bumblebee kits that we have here from the Plastic Cotton. So I have a feeling that that is most likely what. Well, here's another point I need to make here. This may
You're
be
changing your mind on the fly here.
Well, look, no, well, because I just noticed that SDW is using the same kit. So perhaps there's not as many Plastic Cockneys at this front as I had thought up front just from looking at the kits in game right now. So, and with only Thomas Perrin on the front, on the top, at the top there, Nick Hart from SDW Vespada is there as well. So Team Italy obviously Team Italy, as you see, is
in there as well from the Plastic Cockneys. But that raises a really good point around jersey selection when the racers are just looking at screen. There's so much data going on that sometimes it can be just downright overwhelming if you try and look at Zwift Power, look at the numbers. Very often it would be easier. I'll look at that J'adore volcano. Yes, well, some people do love volcanoes and climbing up them. The sprinters probably not. But there you go. And isn't that quite different to what some of our APAC riders were saying about the volcano? So fair to say a bit of a love-hate going on with this course across the board. But je deteste volcano. Yes, Mr. Milk, I am with you there. I am definitely with you there. But yeah, the jersey selection. If you choose a jersey that one of the other teams is also riding, it can be either advantageous because people will confuse you, or quite the opposite, disadvantageous if they think that you are a Plastic Cockney and they want to chase you up the road every time you move. So it's an interesting one. Never did pass French well, Tom, neither did I. Did a couple of Tour de France's with the television, and wasn't that an interesting trip around France, muddling my way through in my dodgy French. But, we can all learn on the fly.
Look what you've started here, Kate. all kinds of
you got to keep it
chatter.
Interesting.
I think the first two climbs were so difficult with that 549 that everyone's kind of calmed down a little bit. Like, okay, let's start chatting away. Well, like you can get a little when riders get a little 183 beats per minute though here coming from Griffiths. Whew. Already at the bottom of the climb. This is going to be a tough climb unless he beats like a butterfly here. Perhaps, or even a hummingbird.
I was wondering what animal you were choosing there.
No, I was going for a hummingbird, and then like
the
onomatopoeia was doing the butterfly for me. It wasn't working out so well, so.
No, I like what you've done there. That is a high heart rate. That's a heart rate I don't think I've ever seen on my heart rate monitor since I was probably a junior. So when I see those kind of heart rates, it
Look at this.
definitely indicates a pretty
Look
high
behind.
work effort.
I was not
Ooh, now
expecting to
this
see
is
that.
interesting. That's why I didn't even notice. That's a big bunch regrouping there. Griffiths, though, pushes off the front. Oh, he's just gone into ghost mode as well. I think we might have a
They
bit
all
of
know
danger
he's
here
there.
in the
They all know he's there. That's the funny thing is it's like such a hard one to use because like
isn't it?
because like if you're already off the front and then you go ghost, like yeah, we know you're there. If you do it from the middle of the pack, you don't really get away really that much. It would be nice if it was like 15 seconds longer. Like, you could attack from middle of the pack and then get like enough of a gap, but they got 2 seconds at this point, so it worked for Griffiths. Bike Strong, they've been aggressive. This seems planned, actually, after we saw the original attack on the lower slopes coming from Bike Strong. Now Griffiths off the front, so I have a feeling they're kind of like, hey, let's throw some dice out and see what happens.
Yeah, that's pretty well coordinated, isn't it? I think if you drop the ghost as you accelerate, which is multitasking to the max, especially with a high heart rate, is hard to do. But that's when you can get the biggest effort because by the time they see you, you've actually got that massive acceleration just to jump away. Griffiths has a breakaway buddy here in Beak. 2 is definitely better than 1 when it comes to breakaways. And the potential for them to stay away. 3 seconds, that's more than I would have expected given the visual on that. And they looked a little bit closer than that, but that's a good gap starting to open up. Beak from Kalash, now they're pretty well in the overall standings, doing a pretty good job. So they would be motivated to get a few extra points here today. I feel like in many ways, a lot of the teams are just trying to get one up on Plastic Cockneys who've had a straight record so far in the perfect score department. So today might be a good chance. I'm also noticing Nathan Wiley for the Plastic Cockneys. He is back in that bunch. So we might not be too off with that Bumblebee jersey after all.
Yeah, plenty of Bumblebee jerseys for the Plastic Cockneys. It does look like as soon as it went back uphill, that chase group, maybe 1 or 2 tried to get across, but back out to 17 seconds. And if they were dropped the first time around, most likely not going to be able to bring anything back. This is for a top 30, though, still within this group, so there is something to battle for. And maybe a couple of stragglers that come out of here. Look at this. We do see Italy here going across. And Zanaska, he was a very strong climber the first 2 times over the top. Now we're into the second half of the climb. Final climb of the day, 10 watts per kilogram. Is he going to go flying right on by? Bike Strong looks to respond. For 2K cows. Beak now 3 off the front. This gets dangerous here. The more riders that get into this little breakaway.
Well, Zanaska, that was a big fly pass. I keep seeing Beak dip into the orange and then back it off a little bit and dip in again. That kind of effort, some riders can go up climbs with those little peaks of power and others, it would break their legs. But Beak, it seems to be working for him because he is going across, I think, with the least amount of effort he can muster, which is a good move. Well, Griffiths is in trouble here. This is the moment. He's got a couple of seconds, and no doubt Zwift is sending him that delightful on-screen message telling him to hustle too. He doesn't need us telling him. He knows. But this is certainly the danger period we're seeing for him. This gap, still at 3 seconds, stretching out to 4, is actually more dangerous than I even thought 500 meters ago.
200 beats per minute. Just if we need a couple of Zoom calls here right now, because that suffering right now is insane. The reality 201 just right on the limit, doing everything he can to get back to that wheel. And also in the back of your mind, there's a second thought, third thought going on. These guys might just swarm me any moment now. Perry looking to come across. It looks like he actually used that very well. That invisibility was very well timed. I have a feeling they did not see that coming here. They're going to want to respond to Perrin because he's gotten over the top over and over again. In a moment, though, all thoughts go out the window, and it's just every watt you can put into those cranks as you hit into this really steep 11-12% gradient.
All right, now it just got serious. Perrin bridging across, using that ghost power up to do so. Yes, it has brought that gap a little bit closer to that main field, who are now stringing out one by one to catch up. But I think Perrin just changed the flavour entirely of this bunch. Look at this. He's sprinting off the front massively in the orange, over 12 watts per kilo there. Isn't that a change around? He's just taken 5 seconds out of those others to get across the top. Herod not too far off, but still a second back. Could he have broken that segment time again?
Herod holds it.
Well, not quite. Zach Herod, he holds at 5:49. Gee, that's fast, isn't it? But for Perrin to do that on lap 3, they're pretty fresh legs, very well timed.
They're going backwards pretty quickly now, though. Maybe like, woo, maybe that was a little much, right, as fellas. It looks like Italy's like, let's just attack. I think this is planned. Two off the front now. As you can see, Italian riders. We've got Hem and it looks like Argneludi. And Hem actually running out of Norway here as the home country, but riding for Team Italy. Paolini, he needs to just sit up, actually, not make a chase from behind, from behind here. It does look like this may come back. They've got enough. The thing is they've got enough riders here. If this small group does not get caught by a larger group, but nope, just too many riders. I would think I'm saying we're gonna have a sprint finish here amongst this whole big group, unless these boys are able to throw down orange all the way to the bottom, and then even at that point, it might be difficult. Just the reality of the snowball in just a moment just might be too much for them to overcome.
Well, it's an interesting one. Really early on, over that first climb, we spoke about the Italians and how they look to be the most organised and aggressive. And to a degree, we kind of forgot about them in the middle there because they were sitting back and weren't animating it quite as much through that midsection. But they were biding their time because they're back, and they're back with a vengeance. Hem and Carneludi, it is a very good combination to have a teammate in a break with you. But in saying that, it will make the other team sit up and pay attention because they will definitely chase that. Now, the momentum that we've spoken about in terms of the bunch numbers is coming into play here. They are just rolling back onto them. It's almost like they didn't have a chance when you just see the ease at which that bunch, and in the power tuck no less, flies back past them.
134 beats per minute.
They need to make sure that they jump on. Yeah, that's pretty comfortable, isn't it? For our Skyrocket Casquette. So
it can really take the motivation out of your heart and your legs. You're thinking 180, you're suffering, and then you like look through and you're like, they're literally not even zone 1. Like, what is going on here? They're like, wow, I just really put in a crazy effort, and everyone else is like ready to just kick as hard as they want. So it can be very difficult on the downhills a lot of times through here, which makes it even that much more impressive when somebody does make something happen on a course like this and is able to break a pack. But you have to put in such an effort to break a pack over there. Now, I did see Team SZ with a little 16 quick there. Interesting enough. Maybe not too interested, it looks like here. Maybe it was just trying to get some positioning.
Yeah, there is that as well. There's also a lot to be said on descents, that you can make the mistake of going over the top and thinking, a little bit of recovery. You don't pedal for a few pedal strokes. You might jump into the power tuck, but that can actually really deaden your legs and make them feel quite heavy when you do start pedaling again. So if you're looking and you're thinking, why isn't everybody just in the power tuck? There are certainly a style of rider who needs to continue pedaling to keep that blood flowing. Otherwise, it will bite them a bit in the end. Now, look at this. Only 3 points difference at the top there between Zach Herod from Team X and Perrin from the Plastic Cockneys. They've both been climbing exceptionally well. But an interesting view on how to accumulate points with first over the line versus fastest through segment. Plastic Cockneys nowhere else on the board though, Nathan. So you might be right there in your original summation of them saving themselves for the finish, or conversely, they might just not be having one of their better days.
What is happening here? I've never seen an attack at this section of course. Literally never have I seen an attack where Bike Strong just went 1 second gap. The speed is high. He used an arrow power up. Oh, no super truck though. Now 7 watts per kilogram, 59 kilometers per hour, 58. Are they going to sleep on him? They've got 59. They got 57. Matching the speed at this point. He has to have continuance here. 54 though. This is when things slow down. Now Griffiths is going to try and go across. That's just going to speed things up though. Griffiths should not be trying to go across to his teammate here. Now Carganelli's going to go though, and that is going to get a response, I think, and going to shut things down. But this is going to make this a much spicier sprint though, Kate, because no one is going to be fresh if they continue to attack over the top over and over and over again, and it will completely splinter things rather than having a concerted pack with a jump out from it.
Well, 2 seconds, 3 seconds here. This is a danger move. This, although it's coming back very quickly, look at how quickly this is starting to shut down. Now, when they take this corner here, they head back into that volcano, and that is where the sprint is going to start in earnest. So they're not too far off that. Now, it is a bit of a two-tier kicker. BFS will get absorbed here. We've seen people go too early and it not work. We've seen a couple get away with an early move, but they're quite vigilant happening here. So they're going to get safely over this first tier without anybody getting away. So now it is all about timing coming into this final. Anybody who goes too early has just seen the momentum of that chasing bunch overwhelm them at the finish. It's a bit of a waiting game. When will the power-ups get dropped? When will we turn all orange on the right of screen? They're heading into this final kick now. It's a pretty open bike race.
Zach Harrod now 13 watts per kilogram to the line. It looks like is going to hold on. He's really the man of the day here when it comes down to it. Better cross the line for third. And then I think Tortu Callis there perhaps. Take a look at the replay here and get an idea of what exactly went down there between the all of the riders here just a moment ago. Well, we'll see if we can get a replay happening here. As quick as we can. It does look like we may struggle to bring. No, here we go. So we do have a little bit of a replay. There was a lot of early kicks, though, as you did say, Kate. But when the power-ups do get thrown down, that's really the moment. And Herod timed it perfectly. I'm going to actually rewind this just a tad. Because if you look at how patient Zach was through here, I think that's really going to tell a lot of people, because there is a lot of racing that happens on Whole Lotta Lava, but also on the on this course. I believe this is going to be the clockwise for the volcano, and this is definitely a great course that's used a ton. And when it comes to racing here, watch where Herod is at amongst here. Look for the Team Experimental. He is currently sitting, it looks right around, is he even in picture here at this point? Zach Herod? I'm looking through. And here's the fifth wheel, sixth wheel currently. Yeah, currently sixth wheel right there. Yeah, sixth wheel currently. So waiting, patience, no orange numbers, nothing from him just yet. Still 7 watts per kilogram. Everybody starts throwing their power-ups. He's now at this point just starting to kick. The moment it hits that uphill 3%, took speed into it, and then makes his way to the front, really gets distance. And there was really almost no challenge with how well he timed that, actually.
No, that was beautiful timing. It is a hard sprint to time, I think, complicated a little bit by the fact that it's effectively a twilight kind of sprint, especially, and here's an advantage that we hadn't considered, Nathan, but for the riders that don't have a Tron bike, it's very hard to even see the riders. So that gives you a little bit of an advantage in terms of timing to be able to fly under the radar a little bit incognito for Herod, because he's one of the few that isn't on the Tron bike. But it looked like he didn't need any help today. So a big win from Team X. We'll have to see where it all plays out in terms of where the Plastic Cockneys finished in numbers in that sprint. But from the outset, it looks like maybe we will have a bit of a change in points. Now, let's take a look at the first race we looked at.
Yeah, we're going way back. It's so back-to-back, everybody. Yeah, it's so back-to-back, everybody. Just as a heads up there that we want to cover as much racing as we possibly can. So we get all the results at the end of the broadcast. But Eddie Uli there, Kate, at the top. He was really dominant.
Yeah, he rode spectacularly from the very first climb. Matthias de Roos He was also a name we said a lot out on course. Stefan van Alst. Now, isn't that interesting? We didn't mention him too much because he flew under the radar a bit, so very smart riding by him. Morten Nørtoft sitting in fourth. Sebastian Rittersgaard in fifth. Stefan Christensen in sixth. Jim Van Ruth, he is our mountain goat of the day. He was in seventh. Tyler Hanney in eighth. Ed Laverick in ninth, and Callum McQueen coming in 10th.
In the B category, EMEA East 1 Division 1B, Graham Jones takes it down at 58.47. Philip Sandrath in second. It's going to be John R. Upper. Good to see Upper out there. Shout out Innovation. Timo Heinen in there in fourth. It's going to be Jesper Nielsen in fifth. Nicholas Ruslands in sixth. Lewis Pritchard in seventh. Richard Zeno for Team SZ in eighth. Klaus Odegaard in ninth. And it's going to be Anders Johnson in 10th place. That is for the Bees.
All right, we've got Julesy taking the win for Evo in the Div C. Corentin Thilo in second. Johan Heerweg in third. Arbav in fourth. David Thomas coming in fifth. Morten Nygaard in sixth. Claudio Homaya in seventh. Joe Van Gossem in eighth. Kay Albrecht in ninth. And Matthias Bain rounding out that top 10.
And then in the D category for the EMEA East 1 Division 1, it is Magnus van Schenk in first place. Dennis Zimmerman second across the line. Vicent Grimaltos in third place there. Samuel Varlet. Frank Schemming followed up by Fred Eric White. And then it's Andres Kress in seventh place. Matthias Elverberg in eighth. I believe this is probably. Are they just trying to challenge me with all of the Northern European?
I was actually just thinking you got on board.
This is like I got the board of the boards here. It feels like here, Maritzi. I'm the board. I apologize to the Netherlands across the board there, and then Panos Semandriakis there. You know, I almost didn't get tongue tied until the second half, and I started thinking about it, and then it just got me. It just got me.
Yeah, I mean, I think Australian and American names don't really prepare us sometimes for this. Rachel Elliott, she's made it easy, hasn't she? What a ride that was in the women's Div A. She rode away with that one ahead of Olivia Barrell in second, Dana Wagner in third, Josephine Noak sitting in fourth, Elisa Haag in fifth, Cassie Boldy in sixth, Sarah Karoulis in seventh, Maya Winter-Brandt in 8th, Ellen McDermott in 9th, and Francesca Hall taking 10th.
And then in the B category for the Women's West Division 1B, Sarah Mack takes it down to 105.08. Pamela Chamber in second place. Lena Geis in third. Debbie Sanders in fourth. Juliet Elliott. Is that going to be the Juliet Elliott? I wonder. We should give her a shout out. Let's see if we can get a screenshot and send that over to her. In fifth place there, Alyssa Nadeski in sixth, Harris Holman in seventh, Kristen Lipscomb in eighth, going to be Julia Hargreaves in ninth, and Kim Eretz in 10th.
Alrighty, let's take a look at the C. We've got England Rod taking the win ahead of Helen Kohlberg, Henriette Melsom in third, Claire Giles in fourth, Ingrid Marie Moo in fifth, Lucy Cosgrove in sixth, Mandy Poole in seventh, Francesca Cox in eighth, Vicky Sultana in ninth, and Kat Ridgway in 10th.
And rounding out the women's field for EMEA Division 1D, Donna Louise Pope for WTRL in first place, Diane Clayton Chisholm in second, Michelle East in third, Amy Price in fourth, B. Donna in fifth place, Jackie Musgrove for Revo in sixth, Jenny G in seventh, Christine M for WTRL in eighth, Ellie G in ninth, and then Mike Maple in 10th place. A little bit of a breakaway there for Donna. Nice job. Holding on to 4 seconds.
Yeah.
The line.
That is a good ride from her. So Donna Louise Pope taking the win ahead of Diane Clayton Chisholm in second, Michelle East in third, Amy Price in fourth. This was a pretty tight bunch sprint here amongst these. B. Donna in fifth, Jackie Musgrove for Revo in sixth, Jenny G in seventh, Christine M in eighth, Ellie G in ninth, Miff Maple there in 10th.
So, and then for the men's here in the West, this was the one where things just broke up right from the get-go. We've got the points situation here. My mistake. See if we can bring in the results here in just a moment. For some reason, I have a feeling that we just had a little bit of a mix-up on the boards there. There we go. Updated, and Zach Harrod across the line, not only for the points, then that's probably the talking point that we could have had there for just a moment. At the top of the points, also first across the line, really dominating. It really is a kind of course that shows the strong, who's, a lot of times the strongest of the strong can just show what they're worth out there, and Harrod definitely showing that. Tom Better, they're coming in through for second. A lot of UK flags actually in this top 10. Only one rider not out of the UK. Oliver Milk for third. Thomas Perrin for fourth. It's going to be Tom Whately for fifth. Charlie Beek in sixth. OM in seventh for Team Italy, actually. Josh Gray there in eighth. Oscar Hutchings ninth. And then Dom Jaskin coming through for 10th.
All right. Well, as the results kind of filter through, there are a lot coming through. So we don't have any filtered through for that B category yet. But as always, you can head over to WTRL.racing to find any of those results. But I'm going to say it. I think Rachel Elliott and her performance today, I think I'm going to put it out there for an early ride of the season. So, throw the gauntlet down to anybody to try and match that.
I also think the course really suited a lot of really awesome performances. I think that when it comes to having, marking this course as something in the whole season, as something to shoot for, to try and make a breakaway type of ride happen, this is one that you definitely can do it on. And looking at the rest of the season, it's Libby Hill. You've got a TTT. I'm not sure you're going to see. I mean, barring next week on the flatter sections of Richmond, barring someone getting some sort of crazy breakaway, everyone just kind of says, that's not going anywhere. They put their head down, and just go for it. I have a feeling that perhaps this is the only opportunity to see a breakaway situation like that. So definitely Rachel Elliott, I'd say the same. Amazing ride out there today. A lot more racing yet to come. We've got America's East and America's West. I'll be back with Dave Toll in just a couple hours for America's East. Kate, you're on later tonight for West with Dave as well.
Yep, looking forward to it. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in, and we love everybody's engagement on YouTube. So keep doing that, and you can correct Nathan's pronunciation if you like on his leaderboards. Look, we're doing our best, but we love being corrected on those. But well done to all the athletes today, and we'll see you next week for this division again around Libby Hill, and a little bit later if you want to tune in for the America Leagues. So thanks, guys.